Cities, the heartbeats of progress. In Southeast Asia, they pulse with the promise of opportunity, drawing millions to the bustling streets and soaring skylines. But with this rapid growth comes an unseen weight, a creeping strain that tightens its grip every day. Traffic congestion, a relentless tide that turns hours into wasted moments, dreams into delays, and ambition into frustration. Every morning, millions awaken to the same struggle. Endless queues of vehicles, the stifling air of exhaust fumes, the stress of lost time. And this isn't just a personal battle, it's an economic drain costing our nations billions and an environmental crisis choking our future. But is this the price of progress? Or can we find another way forward? Urban strain, the cost of traffic congestion in Southeast Asia.
Urbanization in Southeast Asia has accelerated rapidly in recent decades, driven by population growth, economic development, and rural to urban migration. Cities like Jakarta, Manila, Bangkok, and Ho Chi Minh City are experiencing unprecedented expansion, leading to dense urban environments. However, this rapid growth has outpaced infrastructure and transportation development, resulting in severe traffic.
Now, the problem with the Philippines is that there are very few choices of moving. We can move naman by bus or by train, but the problem is it's the quality of the public transport systems. There's a reason why a lot of us prefer to travel by car, which is the most comfortable mode of transport. So if we can make public transport quality, public transport of very high quality, so that will encourage people to take public transport instead of car, because what really causes congestion is not the train. It's not the bicycle. What causes congestion is there are too many cars on the road. Okay, so that's the main idea. So if you invest in public transport of very high quality, so you go around Metro Manila using high capacity public transport, so that will definitely reduce urban congestion.
The combination of increased vehicle ownership, insufficient public transportation systems, and outdated road networks has increased the problem. Many urban centers struggle to accommodate rising demand due to limited investment in infrastructure or delayed implementation of transportation projects. Urban planning often lag behind population growth, creating systematic inefficiencies that persist today. This context highlights the critical need to address traffic congestion as cities continue to expand.
We have this term called induced demand. So induced demand, I'll just explain it briefly. For example, right now we have this X number of lanes ng kalsada, and then nagta-traffic siya, no? There's this traffic congestion. And this solution that was proposed and implemented was to construct new lanes, let's say 1 or 2 lanes. Ginawa siya. So lumuwag, so the drivers would think, okay, mas maluwag na yung kalsada. And then lahat ng drivers will think that way, doon na sila dadaan. And look, ano naman siya, magka-congest na naman. And then another lane. It doesn't end. So that's the concept of induced demand. It just increase and increase as long as you're increasing the supply or the road within that case. So nadadagdagan din yung demand o yung dami ng dumadaan dun sa roads. Overall, it's not a sustainable way of addressing that kind of problem ng transport congestion, because para siyang band-aid solution. We're just covering up the problem for a short period of time.
Traffic congestion affects daily life in profound ways. Commuters often spend 2 to 4 hours stuck in traffic each day, sacrificing valuable time that could be spent with family or pursuing personal goals. This daily grind leads to decreased productivity as workers arrive late, fatigued, and less efficient.
Mga naranasan ko sa pagkakamit, super dami. Pero pinaka-hassle, siguro yung oras. Kasi gabi, isang oras. So, sa isang araw, siguro 2 hours ako nagko-commute. Ang dami ko na sanang nagawa. Kunyari, malapit ako sa school. Sa 2 oras na yun. So, yun yung pinaka-hassle for me. Tapos also, bigat ng bag ko. So, dala-dala ko yan like, for 2 hours. Medyo hassle talaga siya. Kung traffic ng tao, kunyari maraming tao nakapila, ganun. Family, yun, less time with them. Na pag-uwi ko, tulog na sila. Pag aalis ako, tulog pa sila. So, hindi ko na sila masyadong nakikita. Work, ayun, napupuyat ako kasi nga nawawalan ako ng oras. Friends, I mean, to be honest, kasama ko sila mag-commute. So, yun yung parang bonding time namin.
At the core of this crisis are deeply rooted issues. Insufficient infrastructure such as poorly designed roads and limited highways struggles to accommodate the growing number of vehicles. Inefficient public transportation systems, plagued by overcrowding and unreliable schedules, forced many to rely on private vehicles, worsening the problem. Political challenges, including delayed urban planning and inconsistent policy implementation, further hinder progress, leaving cities trapped in a cycle of congestion and inefficiency.
Tingin ko kasi isa sa mga naging reason ng traffic, minsan yung mga traffic enforcers na din. Like, hindi masyadong na aayos yung pag-aano ng traffic. Kasi for example, may isang beses, nalimutan ata ng traffic enforcer yung lane namin. So, 10 minutes kaming naghihintay na padaanin yung lane namin. So, sila din talaga minsan yung problema. Ang current na ginagamit ng public transport kasi, di ba, jeep, bus, tapos super konti ng units compared sa dami ng tao. So, maraming sasakyan, oo, kasi maraming ayaw sumakay sa public transport. Dahil yun agad yung na-associate nila sa public transport, masikip, na konti nga lang units. Sa ang daming tao, makikipag-away ka pa para sa ano. So, kung may sarili ka namang sasakyan, bakit mo ipipilit yung sarili mo sa sitwasyon na ano ka? Pero yun yung ideal din, na mas maraming gagamit ng public transport. Pero feeling ko maano lang yun kapag na ano na ng government na damihan yung units. Yan.
Singapore is an example of progress, innovation, and sustainability. From its humble beginnings as a small island nation, Singapore has grown into a global metropolis, setting benchmarks in urban planning and sustainable development. One of Singapore's greatest achievements is its highly efficient public transport system. With an extensive MRT network, seamless bus connectivity, and affordable fares, public transport has become the backbone of daily life for millions of residents.
In Metro Manila, what's the total length of urban railway? It's 77 kilometers. So compared to Singapore, since you're mentioning Singapore, I have to check the statistics in Singapore. So they're about 250 kilometers. So in other words, the geographic coverage of railway within Metro Manila is very small. I mean, the public transport is very reliable. Which makes it easy for us to travel around, Singapore.
Convenient and sustainable, this system enhances the quality of life for everyone. But Singapore hasn't stopped there. It has embraced active mobility as a part of its urban planning. Cyclists and pedestrians benefit from well-designed cycling paths and park connectors, promoting eco-friendly travel and healthier lifestyles. These initiatives are an inspiration for cities across Southeast Asia, showing that greener and more livelier urban spaces are within reach.
So what we call the certificate of entitlement, diba?
So they get to own a car for 10 years and then they renew it or sell it.
Yeah, that's right. So it puts a cap, diba? Or may bidding process then. So somehow it limits the ownership, the car ownership.
Yeah, basically.
I mean, it's a good policy kasi syempre, the first thing there is you improve the public transport system, diba? At the same time, there must be a policy that will limit the ownership of the car. So both should go together. Kasi if you limit the ownership of car but you don't have good public transport system, magrereklamo yung ano mo. Ayan. But if you have good alternatives and then you limit the option to own the car, then it's a good combination. So I think it's that's a good policy for Singapore. I mean, if there are high quality alternatives yan for mobility.
In the rapidly transforming landscape of Southeast Asian cities, transportation has emerged as a critical challenge that intersects urban planning, economic development, and quality of life. The region's metropolitan areas are experiencing unprecedented growth, with populations expanding at a rate that often outpaces existing infrastructure's capabilities.
Okay, so the project, it's the program of the government launched in June 2017. So it's a PUV modernization program. So when you say PUV, it includes not only the jeepneys, but also the buses. But then since I think about 60% of commutes by public transport are actually made via jeepney. So that's why the main focus of the PUV modernization program is the jeepney. Okay, so that's the rationale. Yeah, because most of the trips by Filipinos are made by jeepney. But then the PUV modernization, it also includes all sorts of road public transport, including bus. Okay, so now it's called Public Transport Modernization Program. Okay, so they rebranded it. So the idea of the PUVMP or PTMP is to modernize public transport system. So, for instance, one of the components is what they call fleet modernization. So, fleet modernization, from the term itself, it means you modernize the fleet. So, from a traditional jeepney, when you modernize your jeepney, it becomes either electric or at least Euro 4 diesel. Okay, so that's what you mean by fleet modernization. So, how will it improve public transport system? So, in many ways. So, number one is you rationalize routes. So when you say rationalization of routes, depending on the passenger demand for that route, then you allocate the appropriate size of public transport and the appropriate number. Ayan. So parang it's a match of the demand and the supply. Okay, that's number one. So ideally, it should reduce, congestion, oversupply, or undersupply, and so on and so forth. And the second was speed modernization. So instead of riding, traditional jeepney na medyo mababa, so may standard siya. So may CCTV, may aircon, may GPS, that kind of thing. So it's supposed to make your commute more comfortable. And so there are many dimensions or aspects of the PUVMP, but those are the only two.
Urban mobility is no longer just about moving from point A to point B. It's about creating interconnected systems that can efficiently and sustainably support millions of daily commuters. Cities are recognizing that traditional approaches to transportation, primarily car-centric models, are no longer viable in the face of increasing urbanization. The complexity of addressing transportation challenges requires a multifaceted approach. This involves not just building more roads, but reimagining entire urban ecosystems.
Well, the Department of Transport, they have it's what we call the master plan. So there's already a master plan for the Greater Capital Region, so which includes provinces like Batangas, Tarlac, Pampanga. So it's a grand vision to develop the railway network in Luzon. So that's number one. It's the development of the rail, but then we also should not neglect the road-based public transport, including buses, like jeepneys. So that's my vision. It's in fact, sabi nga ng iba, there should be what we call 10-minute rule. So in other words, when you say 10-minute rule, if I want to leave right now, dapat within 10 minutes, I should be able to reach my bus or my jeepney. Dapat dumating siya. Kasi it's like, you try to replicate the traveling by car. Kasi car is the most convenient, most direct,
consistent,
most reliable, So the public transport should be able to replicate the standards by a private vehicle. So you can leave.
Integrated transportation networks that combine public transit, cycling infrastructure, pedestrian walkways, and smart technology are becoming increasingly important. Local governments and urban planners are gradually exploring innovative solutions. Some cities are implementing bus rapid transit systems, developing dedicated cycling lanes, and creating more pedestrian friendly urban spaces. These efforts aim to reduce congestion, lower carbon emissions, and improve overall urban livability. The shift towards more sustainable urban mobility is not just an infrastructure challenge, but a collaborative effort that requires participation from governments, private sectors, urban designers, and communities themselves.
For me, roads. Tama na yung roads.
Tama na yung roads.
Tama na yung roads. Kaya kasi parang the solutions that are being implemented for the past few years or decades are more of car-centric. We're feeding more to the cars instead of the commuters, the pedestrian, ganyan. Diba? Philippines kasi is an archipelagic country. So, pulo-pulo siya. And then we're trying to adapt the concept of like American thoroughfares. Sa kanila okay lang kasi yung kanilang country is huge chunk of landmass, di ba? Sa atin hindi eh. I think the approach that we should have adopted is like the European countries. Sila maliliit lang yung kanilang landmass. So what they did is they focused on railway transportation systems.
Especially subways
Yes. That's why happy tayo ngayon na not only NSCR and MMSP, Metro Manila Subway Project, meron pang under feasibility studies na railway lines. Kagaya na nabanggit mo kanina, MRT4. So that's East-West Railway.
Our cities are choking. Gridlocked streets, polluted air, and stressed out citizens. It's a familiar sight. It's time for a change. We need to prioritize pedestrian-friendly urban spaces and efficient public transportation systems. By investing in sustainable infrastructure and encouraging active transportation, we can create healthier, happier, and more equitable cities. And it's not just about convenience, it's about improving the quality of life for everyone.
Hear the commuters more. It's not about the funding, it's not about the engineering designs. At the end of the day, we have to focus and cater what are the needs of the commuters. Gusto nilang maglakad, hindi sila makapaglakad kasi ang daanan is paliko-liko instead of dapat straight line na. Ang nagiging straight line yung mga roads, yung daanan ng mga cars. So, be less car-centric, be more commuter-centric.
Sana makita nila yung mga things na nagiging problem every year, na nagiging ayun, parang sana sustainable yung pagka-improve and yung hindi yung norm na lang na okay, ganito talaga pag-commute, ganyan talaga, hindi talaga siya maayos. Sana gawa nila ng paraan na parang mas gawin pang maayos kasi kaya naman natin, so hindi lang natin ina-address.
Ang important point na dapat nilang kasing i-consider is to make sure na yung jeepney drivers o yung mga magmo-modernize ng jeepney, settled sila. Like, nasa-subsidize sila. Kasi kahit pa ipilit mo yung modernized jeepneys, kung hindi yan kaya ng mga jeepney drivers, kung hindi yan kaya ng mga franchises, hindi nila yan i-avail or hindi nila yan ma-apply sa sarili nila. So, it's more on looking into putting themselves in the position of the drivers, of the ones who are actually parang working in the public transport industry. Kasi madaling magsalita kung tinitingnan mo, parang bird's eye view ka lang. Pero kung ikaw yung mismo nandun, ang dami mong makikitang factors like pera, of course, tapos yung process, kung gaano kakomplikado yung process para sa kanila. So that's one thing that they have to look into. Yeah.
So in fact, you can check the parang famous quotation from Enrique Peñalosa, who is the mayor of Bogota. So his vision is a developed city is not one which everyone owns a car, but a city in which the rich people even take the public transport. Something like that. That's his vision.
So, what are you waiting for? Let's work together to build a future where our cities are not just functional, but vibrant and sustainable. The future of our cities is in our hands.